Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to a Moment of Clarity. I know you're beautiful because you're watching this, so that by definition makes you more beautiful than most others. Please take a minute to share this with folks. Let people know. Not a full minute. Don't get greedy. Take like 20 seconds, okay? Fucking tweet it out, share it. I'm gonna get into the accidental discharge, which is what they're now claiming caused the murder of Dante Wright. Was it yesterday in Minnesota, or I don't know if it happened the day before that, but the protest popped off yesterday, and another unarmed, innocent black man killed in Minnesota. And there's massive protests, as most of you know, and they're saying the cops have now come out and said, yes, it was an accidental discharge, which I thought was only an excuse you could use on porn sets. All right? You cannot, as a police officer, use accidental discharge as the reason you murdered somebody. Sorry, I killed that guy. It was a premature ejaculation. It's really my bad. I just got so excited. Fuck you. Minnesota officer who shot Dante Wright meant to fire the taser. Officials from Brooklyn Center said that the fatal shooting was an accidental discharge and released body camera video of the encounter. So there you go. There's the accidental discharge. Yet another man killed. And, you know, they're like, oh, it was an accident. Well, let's back up a minute here. And let's assume it was an accident, okay? Let's assume that this guy literally was reaching for his taser, which I'm not saying you should assume that. Maybe this is just a fucking thing they say when they kill people. Oh, I thought I was going to tase him to death. I'm sorry. I killed him in a different way than I thought. The taser does kill some people, but I thought I was going to tase him to death, ended up shooting him to death. I'm very sorry about that. Let's assume that this is true. They accidentally shot him instead of tased him. What we should do is back up a second here and ask, why are there guys with guns tackling this man to begin with? Why are there guys with guns, guys with weapons to kill, running up on this guy in his car, you know, because they thought he looked suspicious? This is, again, an unarmed person. The officers, walked up to his car. One of them fired and said, holy shit, I shot him. I mean, this is not how the system should work. And this discussion largely we largely don't get to that discussion, right? It's largely, they try and make it about one bad apple, or in this case, a new bad apple. This is another bad apple. You got this one. You got Derek Chauvin, another bad apple. And as we mentioned on the other live streams, don't fall for this garbage that's in the George Floyd trial, that it's just Derek Chauvin. He is a fucking awful human being, and that is it. That is all that's wrong with our police system. That is all that has failed us. That is all that oppresses us. That is all that beats us down. It's just this one dude, man. He has been busy. Holy shit. It's just him? Really? It's just him? He is one fucking busy body. He's just a hardworking bad apple. God damn. Most hardworking bad apple this side of the orchard. So don't believe that shit. And I'll show you what Ajamu Baraka, I think I threatened to show this the other night and then I forgot. But let me show you what Ajamu Baraka said. If you don't follow Ajamu Baraka, you absolutely should. I'm having him on this week on the Moment of Clarity, but you absolutely should check out his Twitter feed. He ran for vice president with Jill Stein running as president, so you might remember him from that. He said, don't fall for it. The trial of Derek Chauvin is a setup. It's mass propaganda, a show trial meant to re-legitimize the white supremacist state. Chauvin is the sacrifice to give impression the U.S. system can render justice for colonized black folks. It cannot. So he's saying don't fall for it. And I have to agree. The reason many of the people are coming, many of the police are coming out and testifying against Derek Chauvin is in order to try and re-legitimize the police and try and say that that, oh, it's just this one guy. And so they've all turned on him to make him the scapegoat. But in fact, this is our policing across America. This is how you end up with police that kill over 1,000 people a year. Meanwhile, in Britain, the average is like 7. In Germany, the average is like 3. There's countries like Switzerland and Denmark that kill zero people. The idea that this has to work this way, I mean, this is a fascist state. This is a fascist system. But we have been so socially engineered to just accept the fact, to just be okay with the fact that there are going to be guys with guns on so many street corners, guys with guns patrolling around to see if you look even slightly suspicious. We have come to accept that. Now, I saw this garbage human being is a bit of a stretch. All right, this garbage, he's like the ooze that comes out of like a fish's ass. Greg Gutfeld, who he hosts various things on Fox News. He's just launched what he calls a comedy show, which, as far as I can tell, is him saying the same stupid shit he's always been saying, except now there's like 4 people in an audience in his studio. It doesn't seem any different. But I noticed his thing. He said his little clip about how crime has gone up this year or in 2020, and it went up the most in blue, or as they like to call them, democratically run cities, as if Republicans play no role in democratically run, democratic cities. Just because you have a Democratic governor or something, like there's no Republicans, there's no right wingers. Actually, the fault of the reason our system is collapsing is because they're all right wingers. They're all, you got light Republican and Republican. That is it. But anyway, so Gutfeld says, oh, the crime went up in 2020. Mainly in these defund the police cities. That's what he calls them, because they dare have protests against the ridiculous, horrific white supremacist policing system we have. So he says, the crime went up in the defund the police cities. And I think to a right-wing brain, that makes sense. Like, oh, well, you defund the police, you end up with more crime. That's how that works. But let's take a step back and recall that, have the police been defunded? The only one that even did a fake as if they were going to defund some of the police was in Minnesota. So most of these cities, almost none of them have actually defunded the police. Almost none of the Democrats in Congress have come forward and said therefore defunding or even decreasing the funding of the police. So he's like, oh, in these defunding the police cities, the crime went up. Yet he fails to mention they didn't defund the police. They didn't hardly decrease. They didn't decrease the police. In many of them, the budgets went up. So just because there was a defund the police protest does not mean that happened. Because guess what? When people stand up together and demand something in America, it usually does not happen. It only gets passed through legislatures if it aligns with corporate interests. So just because you saw a protest in a certain city for defund the police does not mean that's the reality now. So, crime goes up. He acts like that has to do with some sort of great large-scale police defunding that has happened. And I don't just mean him. I mean, right-wingers like to pretend this is going on, when in fact, that's not going on at all. The cops are getting more money across this country than ever before. There are more cops than ever before. They are more militarized than ever before, even with all these protests. So if you want to look at that reality, then I guess using his logic, we should say crime went up because the police are more funded and more militarized and larger than ever before. They caused it to go up. Now, of course, that's not the truth behind it. Now, cops do cause violence some of the time, but the reality behind why, and I don't even know which numbers he's looking at. So for all I know, he's fucking making up his numbers. But let's say crime did go up. Crime goes up because guess what? People are having a hard fucking time. And when people get desperate, they do desperate things. And so people who normally would not break the laws if their lives were comfortable and they weren't fearing for their security, for their food, for their family, for their housing, if they weren't fearing for those things, then there wouldn't be this crime uptick. So that's the reason crime has gone up. If it's gone up. Again, I didn't actually check those numbers, but so he wants to act like it's because there were 12 protests against chanting defund the police. And yet another unarmed black man assassinated basically in the streets of Minnesota. It's like, what more can you say? It's like these cops should not be attacking people. We should rethink policing. I've gone through this many times, so I don't feel the need to go through it a lot right now. But I just wanted to cover that. I just want to get that out there. There are protests going on across the country for this. It is feeding off the fury that people have about how our policing works in this country. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up. I have 3 podcasts. There's Government Secrets with Graham Elwood, Common Censored with Eleanor Goldfield, and Moment of Clarity. If you miss any of these, check out leecamp.com. And lastly, if you want to support the podcast, you can go to liberapay.com/leecamp, liberapay.com/leecamp. Unlike Patreon, they do not take a cut. All right, guys, thanks so much.